Macronutrients are actually tied quite closely to energy balance because the amount of macronutrients you consume is actually what makes up the amount of calories that you consume. Your diet is typically made up of three primary sources of calories. These are known as macronutrients because we must consume them in larger quantities. So macro relating to larger, micro relating to smaller. The three primary sources of calories that you consume in your diet, they are protein, dietary fat, and carbohydrates. We also have a fourth macronutrient for those of you who consume it, alcohol. And we need to also understand that alcohol is its own macronutrient. For that reason, it contains calories. We need to understand how to manage that and how it fits into the bigger picture. Let's start with protein. Protein is an essential nutrient because your body's unable to synthesize its own protein. If we think of proteins as the building blocks for your body's tissues, and we understand that protein is actually present in every cell of your body, then we can start to understand the importance of protein and why we need this regularly. Mostly found in animal-based products, although you can also get protein from plant-based food sources as well as supplements. And when we look at supplements, we can also get animal-based products and plant-based products. So whatever your personal preferences are, there is a way for you to get enough protein. Now, looking at the calories in protein, 1 gram of protein is equivalent to 4 calories. Next up, dietary fats. Dietary fat can also be known as triglycerides. These are also essential. So this is another essential nutrient. Fats come in various types, which can have both positive and negative effects on your body, depending how much of them you consume. So there are 3 major categories of naturally occurring fats. Those 3 major categories, first of all, saturated fat, then we have monounsaturated fat, and we also have polyunsaturated fat. There is a 4th type, which we need to be aware of also. This is transunsaturated fat, or sometimes just trans fat you may have heard of. Trans fats are thought to be more harmful due to being artificially hydrogenated. They are mostly manufactured fats. The more processed a food is, the less likely that is going to contribute to good health. So when a food is hydrogenated, essentially this means that hydrogen has been pumped into liquid vegetable oils. Supermarket products that need a very long shelf life, cupcake or a packet of biscuits, something that needs to sit solid on a shelf for long periods of time, they tend to be manufactured. This is obviously super helpful to the product manufacturers, but it's not actually very helpful to your health. So although there are lots of unhealthy unsaturated fats we need to be aware of, there are also transunsaturated fats that are naturally occurring. So these generally are found in animal products again. And it's important to remember that these aren't considered harmful. Now, in terms of calories, 1 gram of dietary fat is equivalent to 9 calories, so much more than the 4 calories per gram of protein. Next up, we're going to look at carbohydrates and overview of the types of carbohydrates. Carbs are found in a wide variety of foods, and they tend to come in 3 different forms. One interesting fact about carbohydrates is that technically they are not actually essential to human life. Okay, your body has its own mechanisms to create carbohydrates from non-carbohydrate sources. What this is called is gluconeogenesis. So if we break down the word gluconeogenesis, essentially this means glucose reformation. Although they are non-essential, they are still your body's preferred energy source. And this is even more important and even more relative to those of you who perform any kind of exercise. The more active you are, generally, the higher your requirement for carbohydrates because it's your body's preferred source of energy. Now, the reason for that is because it's quickly and easily converted to energy. Okay, this process for your body is much quicker and much easier when your body needs energy. Carbs can be used as energy much faster and much more efficiently. The more intense your training is, the more likely it is that you are going to be fueling that by carbohydrates. Not only that, but your brain also requires a certain amount of carbohydrate each day. So around 120 to 130 grams of carbohydrates every day are used by your brain. So you may be thinking, okay, well, how do people who eat a high fat diet and don't eat carbs or not many carbs, how does their brain work? Well, if carbs aren't even present in the diet, for example, a ketogenic diet, which is high fat, very, very low carb, your body has, again, its own mechanisms to produce different alternative sources. Ketones, your body will produce an alternative fuel source that is accepted by the tissues of the body that need that fuel. So the three types of carbohydrates: sugars, fiber, and starches. 1 gram of carbohydrates in calories is 4 calories. We've seen protein, 1 gram equals 4 calories. We've seen dietary fats, 1 gram equals 9 calories. And now again, coming around to carbohydrates, 1 gram is 4 calories. So protein and carbs, the same amount of calories per gram at 4 calories, whereas fats are 9 calories per gram. Next up, we're going to take a look at alcohol. Alcohol is actually made from the fermentation and the distilling of sugar or starch, so therefore it also contains calories. You should always aim to account for these. Okay, we need to consider these just like we do food and any other drinks that may contain calories. If we want to manage our alcoholic intake appropriately, then we need to also manage the calories that come with that. Alcohol is toxic and it is harmful to your human body. Some people think that alcohol in small quantities is not much to worry about, which, relatively speaking, that's probably true. However, even in small quantities, alcohol is absolutely not good for your body. When you drink alcohol, your liver oxidizes around 95% of it. So what this means is your liver converts the alcohol, and the end result is that we dispose of it. So water and carbon dioxide is eliminated from the body. And this is similar to food, however, through the metabolism of alcohol. So in that process, your liver can only oxidize 1 unit of alcohol per hour. When alcohol is consumed, your body will actually push aside metabolism for other nutrients. So the priority, whenever anything toxic enters your body, is to dispose of that toxic substance first. Any other calories that have been consumed around alcohol, they are pushed aside because alcohol becomes the priority because of the toxic nature of what you're consuming with alcohol. This becomes a priority in terms of metabolism. For example, if we'd overeaten slightly, but we've also consumed alcohol, it may be that you're giving your body an easier route to store that food as body fat because of the fact that alcohol is first in, first out. The toxic nature of alcohol means that it is always going to be prioritized because your body wants to get rid of this as soon as possible. Now, unfortunately, your body can also build up a very high tolerance to alcohol because it constantly wants to adapt if it's persistently present in the diet. Everybody knows that we should drink water when we consume alcohol, but when we start to understand the toxic nature of alcohol and the impact that it can have on your internal organs, it's worth remembering that water can actually help that process. So when we want to negate some of the harmful effects of that toxicity from alcohol, the more water we consume along with alcohol, the less harmful that may be to the organs that are trying to dispose of alcohol through metabolizing alcohol. And when we look at the calories per gram, 1 gram of alcohol, this is equivalent to 7 calories. Protein, 4 calories per gram. Dietary fats, 9 calories per gram. Carbohydrates, 4 calories per gram. And alcohol, 7 calories per gram. That is the end of part 1.